Thank you very much. My name is Tom Terranova. I'm the Executive Director of the American Association for Accreditation of Ambulatory Surgery Facilities, which is way too long to say, so we say Quad ASF or Quad A. Yes, so Quad ASF began in 1980. So nearly 40 years ago, a group of surgeons wanted to demonstrate that surgeries that they were performing in their own office operatories were just as safe, if not safer, than surgeries that were being performed in licensed facilities, hospitals that were licensed by the government. And so they created a program that would be independent and would inspect and certify individual office operatories for safety. And so that group was the first founding program of Quad ASF that grew over the last 40 years as various societies have required accreditation and various governments have required accreditation to now accredit over 2,700 facilities around the world. We're currently working in about 10 countries, and over the course of the last 40 years have worked at one time or another in 17 countries. This is our first major event in UAE. But we do have a clinic that was accredited in Dubai in 2016, and they're up for their recertification process, which we'll actually do this coming week. Yeah, so what happens is our surveyors are all peer medical professionals, so they're all surgeons or anesthesiologists and in some cases nurses. So our surveyors go into a facility and they assess the facility based on a list of criteria that we set forward, and it's all based on the level of anesthesia being provided by the clinic. And so once that person assesses the level of compliance with those rules, we will submit a report of findings to the facility. And once they correct all of those findings, the facility is then deemed to be safe by our standards, and we will give the certification. So it's about the level of safety. So I would distinguish it a little bit from quality, just because safety is really the core mission that we have. And it's all about how safe the patients are being treated, how well they're being treated, so that there's no adverse events or unanticipated outcomes in the post-surgical time. Yeah, so there's a few things that we do to support facilities as they try to go through the process. So this week, actually, we're going to be doing a technical program for facilities that are interested in our accreditation. Now, keep in mind that the DHA here in Dubai has passed a mandate that all day surgical centers have to be accredited by an international group, and they approved us as one of the international groups to do so. So we wanted to give some technical assistance to the facilities that would be going through the process. And so we wanted to give them tips for preparing for the accreditation process, whether that's how to treat their equipment, how to improve their maintenance schedule for equipment and for their facilities, training of their staff, or policies and protocols. So we do have some technical assistance that we offer beforehand to the facilities. We also give the facilities free look at the book. They can download our standards so they know exactly what the standards expect of them. They can assess their facility on their own. The standards are designed to be clear and objective so that they can assess their own facility without the need of outside help. And then we also provide a service by which facilities can buy sample protocols and sample policies that they can implement in their facility to keep it safe. Once we do the survey and we have a list of findings, we will help the facility address those findings. So they will come up with a plan of how to correct any deficiencies they have, but we'll assess that plan and we'll put it past our clinical experts. We'll also assess the plan, and if it's still not quite right or if it still needs work, we'll help them through that process. And our staff is very, very helpful. Often they'll provide examples or they'll provide kind of tips for common ways that facilities all over the world have addressed a similar problem to kind of help them walk through and get all the way through the correction process. And one thing that's kind of unique about our program is that we actually work with the facility all the way through correction. Many accreditation organizations stop once they develop a good plan, once the facility has a plan in place. We actually require the facility to go all the way through the correction, so we wait to see that it's actually been done and then it's ready to stay in place on a moving forward basis, and that's when we actually give the accreditation certificate to the facility. Well, I think the biggest thing that will change before and after, especially when a country or a state, any location really, sometimes it's very, very large cities, require accreditation, it sets the whole area apart as a center of excellence, and it really reduces the level of unanticipated events. So we define unanticipated events as sort of bad outcomes that happen within 30 days of the treatment. And because of the standards being in place and the facilities living by the protocols that they implement to meet the standard, we should see a dramatic reduction. It's not always that we see a reduction, because sometimes facilities are doing the right thing just by chance, but we want to make sure that there's a structured approach to make sure that there is safety in the facility. And what we do on an ongoing basis is collect data from every accredited facility around the world about all of the bad outcomes that they've had, as well as random samples of all the normal cases that went according to plan. And we know the number and the rate of all of the bad outcomes. So we know how many infections occur per how many surgeries occur. And so we can use those rates and study them, and we study them with our university partners. For example, we have an agreement with Harvard University Medical School where we've written 2 scholarly papers on screening for certain types of bad outcomes that happen post-surgery. And we also have written 1 article with those same researchers on the use of opioids after surgery and how patients might develop adverse events because of the use of opioids. And so we use those studies to then increase patient safety. So in a place like Dubai, where this is now required, accreditation is now required, we should see the standard of care and the standard of safety elevating across the board with all facilities now complying. And you should see far fewer bad outcomes. So if they come to visit our website, which is www.AAAASF.org, they can download our standards book directly. It's free. They don't have to pay for anything. They don't have to sign up for anything. They get it. And because we want them to know, we want the ideas and the standards around patient safety to be freely available, because we feel that patient safety is sort of a global sort of right. It's something that everybody should have access to. So we give the clinics very clearly what we expect of them. So they can, I always say the very first step they should take is to download the book and sit down and review it and see what they expect that their clinic has trouble with, and then to give the book to a staff member, a nurse, a manager, and walk through the clinic as though it was their first day and check off the things that they don't do so that they know what they need to address, and it's all very clear. The other thing that we offer is the same website can write to us and ask for the common findings, and they'll get a list of the 10 most common findings we find in a facility, and that will help them kind of assess whether their facility does the same thing that those other facilities around the world have had trouble with. So it's a good way that they can gauge their own performance as of right now. I've been elsewhere before. I've never been in UAE before. It's lovely. It's fantastic. It's very, very warm, especially right now. But I've been exploring around the hotel a little bit, and it's beautiful. And I can't wait to see some more of the sites. I'm actually going to Abu Dhabi tomorrow, and I'm hoping to make some time to see the Grand Mosque. I'm very excited to see that. I think in general, the medical field in the UAE seems to be pretty good. I mean, everyone has very good training. Everyone has been trained by reputable institutions around the world, and that's what I find in many cases, especially when we get to locations in which the government is at the level of mandating accreditation. Safety is on the mind of the professionals and the government to such a degree because they've already been well trained. In places where there's not that great training, no one's really paying attention to accreditation yet. Thank you.